hey, hello, this is the Triple D's or
Daddy Daughter Discussion. I'm Tyron.
I'm Giselle. Today's topic is going to be choices and discussions. Have you ever made a choice and at the time it was such a good choice and it had immediate benefits, but later on that same choice just terrible consequences?
Well, first, for me, I'm big on definitions. So let's get a working definition on choices and consequences. So a choice is an act or of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. And for me, just my belief system, I believe we choose, before we even reach this earth, we choose the situations, good, bad, and different, defined by us that we're going to make.
But do we choose how we react to them at that moment?
We don't choose how we act to them that moment. But that goes to the consequence, which is a result. So if I make a choice about something, this is just what I believe. It's supposed to make a result on something that I need to work on in this life. Mm-hmm. So but choice and consequences that's a working definition, but I just want to give you a backdrop on a lot of this discussion we have today on why I say what I say about choices. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the question you asked, have there been choices that I made that I regret?
That at the moment it seemed like a good choice and it had immediate benefits, but later on there's just consequences because...
Absolutely. I've done that a lot. Speaking early on in my life, I made a choice to leave home, and it was immediate benefit because I had freedom. But the consequences that result was I had to hustle, I had to struggle. That was a relationship that I disconnected from my mother and father. So, what about you in this short lifespan of yours of 16 years?
Nothing too detrimental, but I definitely made choices because the immediate benefit was right in front of me and I couldn't see the long term of doing the other choice. Mm-hmm. And there's this scientist, he did an experiment, I forgot his name. It goes into, it's like classical conditioning but different. I forget what it's called, but it was by B.F. Skinner. He put pigeons in a box, mm-hmm. and there's two buttons, green and red. The green button, when the pigeon pressed it, immediate treats. The red button, he pressed it and it was 4 seconds until he got the treat. Mm-hmm. And after a while, the pigeon kept picking the green one.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I'm not... It's not exactly what happened, but it was...
the choices that pigeon had.
Yeah, and after a while, the pigeon saw, hey, if I press the red one, sure, it takes a little longer to get it, but I get more treats in the end.
Exactly. So that kind of goes along the line when I was telling you what I believe. Now, this is not a religious thing. This is just how I am spiritually, why I believe we choose our destination, right? And just like that pigeon, it was a behavior modification. Mm-hmm. That's what you was alluded to, correct?
Yeah.
So with that being said, choices I made early on, leaving my parents' house at the ripe old age of 14, right at 15, it did have consequences that shaped my behavior. I defined for me what's good, bad, or indifferent. Right? Now, meaning if it didn't affect anybody outside of my sphere of influence. At that time, and even as I got older now, I can see a lot of benefits with me doing that. And dependability, being able to just see different perspectives of the world. But also, there was a lot of bad consequences, because consequences is just a result.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
You're saying it's more complex than black and white. It can be bad, but it's also good. You can't just pick and choose which ones you want to focus on for a specific choice.
Yes, I don't like to put things in boxes. Mm-hmm. So I believe believing, like I said, that's a universal, let's get a universal definition. Believing is clearly defined as something that you strongly choose to be true. right? That doesn't mean it's factual. That doesn't mean it works for you. So I say all that to say, yes, there's no good or bad for me. There are some universal truths that I think that's good or bad for everybody. I know that me murdering somebody intentionally, knowing, is a good thing. I think that can be universally established. But this is the complexity of it for me. If that was to do an act like that, and I go with the belief that I believe in, I chose my destiny. I got to understand, why did I choose to do that? It was bad, but what consequence do I need what behavior modification I need? So I hope I answered that question. I know I kind of rambled a little bit.
Just a bit. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. So the choices that I have made, I think, just really looking at this is for me, I decide what's bad or good for me.
Are there any not consequences, choices that you've made this past week that you just still?
You know what? Honestly, nothing too significant that I can think about that I decided to make a conscious choice that, we all make choices. I made a choice, so let me answer that. Let me go back and retract that statement. I chose to go to the gym. I chose to, you know what I'm saying? So choices is just, I could have stayed in bed, or I could have went to the gym. I could have came and picked you up, or I could have, I could not take you to the Color Purple that we went to last night, or I could have stayed in bed.
So there's like a level to choices. There's choices you make every day that they don't really have consequences at the moment, good or bad. Then there's big choices. That's like the top, like life or death.
Well, consequences is, everything has a consequence. Everything. Because consequences is defined as, we're going to get a working definition, as consequences is defined as pretty much a result or effect of an action or condition. So what does that mean? Everything is going to be a result.
Well, because everything's a choice.
Everything's a choice. Exactly. So to answer your questions, are there levels? You define. I think sometimes we, and I think we're all guilty of it, right? We try to define the levels and measure and weigh. I believe we can measure. We try to measure and weigh for other people. We can measure and weigh for ourselves. So to answer your question, I made plethora of choices, right? And I had a lot of consequences. I probably won't know I guess the better question is, did I have any choices that I made that had consequences that I thought was bad this week? And I would say no, not this week. Last week, maybe. This week, not.
A pretty good week.
Yeah, it's a pretty good week. What about you?
Well, yeah, I've made bad choices this week. One of them, not doing my work, not doing homework. Actively choosing to pick the better, more immediate benefit, which is chilling, doing nothing at all. And now I got a lot of work a lot of it's not due yet, but it's gonna pile up, and I need to stop procrastinating. Would you say procrastination is a choice, or just like something is something else?
No, absolutely it's a choice. Now, does something else have to be, why are you procrastinating? What reasons that you need to pile on something and then get started? That is something that you have to dig in within yourself.
Like a lot of writers, they'll tell you, don't write based on inspiration, because inspiration, it goes away like that. So you need to go off of habit.
Yeah.
So build up that habit. And do you think building up habit, is that like something you need to be taught, or is it something you already, like you kind of know, but it's like a muscle you don't use as much? Well,
That's a good question. First of all, I think there are habits that are built within your regiment that you do throughout the day, right? You have started to brush your teeth every morning you get up. For me, I make my bed every morning I get up, right? So I wasn't taught that. I wasn't shown that. That I remember. Let me take that back. When I was a kid, brush your teeth, and I probably taught you. So to answer your question, I think there are certain things that's a learned behavior that I continue to add, and then there are things that say you want to consistently say you got a weight loss program, or you want to say you want to read so many chapters. You have to build in that habit. You have to be intentional. That's the word I love to use. Intentional on like, okay, today or every third day, I'm going to read so many pages. So yes, that's a muscle, because the brain is a large muscle that you got to build and continue to do it so it can be something set within you.
Do you think it's true that bad habits, like say, just getting up and not making your bed, I wouldn't consider that a bad habit, but more like maybe you should shower every day and all that, but you consider not doing that a bad habit and easier to form than better habits?
I don't know if good or bad habits are easier
To define?
You can define it, but I don't know. You asked, is it something easier to, you said develop?
Like, do bad habits develop?
I think they're equal.
Yeah.
I believe they're equal. I believe that you can be so used to, say you just something simple as not making up your bed, and you don't want to do it because in your mind there's no benefit. A consequence is, like I said, it's a result. For me, there's a benefit. I make up my bed initially probably because I was told to when I was a little kid, but now it gives me joy, a piece of joy when I wake up in the morning and I accomplish that thing and I see my bed, it's my room. It seems like it makes my whole room, the aesthetics of my room better. It's calming to me.
So it's like when you were a kid, your parents taught you these habits, and when you get older, you appreciate it because it relates back to you, like how I'm trying to find the right word.
How it affects us?
Like
I think
you personally.
I think some of them. So I got this quote that this is all me, and I want you to think about it. I seek peace, not less stress in my life, right? So with that being said, then I have to define what's peace. For me, peace is being able to have a balance. Being a balance means to be able to look at things from different perspectives, not just from my view, and be able to be honest with myself, right? So that's peace. So when I get up in the morning, that's a little bit of peace for me. It calms me down. It's not less stress, because to me, less stress is different than peace. What do you think?
I agree. Peace is, I'm gonna go scientific, homeostasis for me, like not too hot, not too cold, not too this, not too that. Less stress is, less stress it's not that perfect temperature going up with hot and cold. It's like, it's not too cold, but it's right in the middle.
You're sustaining. It's not a homeostasis that
you're surviving, not thriving.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yes. And those are choices that we make throughout our lives, right?
Definitely.
And do you choose to be at peace, or do you choose to be less stressed?
Well, I think less stress and peace is often, for many people, interchangeable.
They're interchangeable. Yeah, that's a good point. Because for me, they're not.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm a simple person, but sometimes you say I can be complex. But I think I'm a pretty simple person. But I think that for me, there's layers. And I think in life, there's layers. And sometimes we try to, it's hard to know why you make certain choices if you really haven't want to do the work on yourself to know who you are. So, like, I give you a perfect example. Like I said, we're gonna have some good conversations about. So when we're talking about choices, we're talking about sex, right? And then consequences with sex, you know, it can be the result is having a child, right? Now, if I was to tell you, and I've told you, I said it, hey, you, whatever choices you make, that's consequences when it comes to sex, right? But I'm glad my mother, who had me when she was 15, she chose that because out of that consequence, the result was me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and then you can go back. My mom ended up marrying my dad at the ripe age of 16, him and 17. They was married forever. So was that really a bad choice for her? See, we have to be careful when we try to find out. With that being said, I do not want you to have an early pregnancy. Go ahead.
Well, I think that relates back to you always talk about before you come into this life, you make choices that you want to go through. And does that relate back to Granny? Because I feel like she's an amazing mother, amazing granny. So do you think that was meant for her because she was always mature, but it just matured her and it gave her that softening, like.
I believe that because that's not a belief system. I mean, that's a belief system of mine. So I'm very quick to say it's not a religious thing because religion means is accepted from multiple cultures. Now, I will say there are a lot of people that believe how I believe, right? But I'm not putting it upon you to say this is how you need to be, right? So with that being said, even with that choice that she made, the end result is a lot of things that you see positive, but there was some negative. So even with those choices that probably she chose that to be negative, for what reason? To help her grow. And she's 63 years old, and maybe there are some things that still need to be shifted. You know, I love nature. I always tell people, I don't try to study the creator, I try to study the creation. And what I love about nature, and I'm gonna tie this back into choices. When you, like my trees and my garden, and you recall we was out there plugging weeds and getting the weeds out, right? And one of the reasons we did, you know, the weeds are beneficial in one aspect because I'd rather the bugs eat the weeds than eat the good stuff. But then it's also I had to pluck it because I needed room to grow, right? So with my grandmother, your grandmother, my mother, and even myself, there are choices that we made that we might have purposely put some weeds there for whatever reason that hinders, that we might need to pluck out so we can grow in that area.
So it's like it was, when you made that choice and created that buffer, it was to survive at that time. But as you grow as a person, into yourself, you need more space, and those buffers that once helped you are now taking vital nutrients that you need.
Absolutely. Look at you.
I'm sorry, I'm so smart.
But you're right, and that's exactly what I meant. I could not have said that any better. So, and I believe what I believe, and it helps me throughout my life. Now, I didn't always believe this, but currently now in my life, and probably like the last 12 years, this is where I'm at. And it helps me go through those life decisions. So going back to the sex, and what are your thoughts on teen pregnancies and the choices that young ladies make having sex or physical intimacy so young?
Well, I think it varies from person to person. A person, when you're ready to have sex, I don't know how to people aren't ready at the same times. Like it varies. someone could be ready when they're 16, someone could be ready when they're 30. So it varies from person to person going off of their experience. But the way they handle it is because, like, the education you receive for it can determine how safe you are when you do it. Because you and mom teach me about it to be safe when I do feel ready. So, what was the question?
No, the question, that's fine. The question was, you answered it. I was just asking you your thoughts on having sex early, the choices that we make, because we define it they're good or bad, and you perfectly answered that, and then they got this, the term they said, reap what you sow, and with that being said, that is a negative connotation upon that, because when you say reap what you sow, what? Like I said, that's why I used my mom. That was nothing negative about a life being born.
It made it harder to.
But it was nothing. Yeah. I'm thankful. Yeah. So even last night you and I was talking. I said yes, I was considered in this modern time a late bloomer. I didn't have sex until my first time that I chose to have sex. I did get, and we'll talk more about my molestation and rape, but that I chose to have sex was not until I came into the military. So I was 19. Well, I came in the military at 17, but I was about 19 when my first interaction. That was a choice that I made. I can't tell you why. I think a lot of it was me being fearful that I didn't of having a child so young, so maybe that choice my mom made helped me, because me and my brothers were all the same. We was all late bloomers. See,
maybe connections. Do you think for sex, because I think the most important thing about sex is having the choice of doing it. You can't stop someone from having sex. They're gonna do it no matter what you say, but you also can't force them. Well, you can't force them, but it's not right. And I know a lot of people, they want to say, you make the choice for me, for many things. And when you get used to giving someone else the power of your choice, you don't have a thought for yourself.
Are you saying if you in a relationship, you are in a relationship with a young boy, young man, and you saying that
you're so used to giving them the choice that when it comes to sex, you give them the choice to have sex, but it's not really.
How can you give somebody your choice when you're making a choice? Elaborate. What are you meaning? I guess because for me in my mind that you can never give anybody your choice. You choose. Now, I'm not talking about abortion or anything like that, and the things that's going on in the country now when they're taking choices from, but a choice to have sex that you're not getting raped, you're not getting molested. Can somebody actually do that?
I think you can make a choice to have sex, but then later on, it's like, I didn't really want to have that, so you can't blame the person. I think that's where people mess up. You can't blame the person you had sex with because at the time you weren't sure.
Got you.
You have to speak to them and hey, I didn't really like this. Can we work out ways where we both can have more communication?
Exactly. So better, what I'm hearing is, can people influence others to do something that
they're peer pressure.
Absolutely. But even with that peer pressure, the ultimate choice is made upon you. And that's where, in our next discussion, we're going to talk about the work that we got to do within ourselves. That's that work, because if you're getting peer pressure, you have to question why what they're doing and how they are moving or navigate is affecting me.
I think that's harder when you're being peer pressure at the moment, and so when you get older or you're out of that experience, they're like, hey, you're able to think about it. Because during the time, it's like you're so caught up with this and that, you're in there, you're like,
I don't disagree, but I will say it depends on the circumstance. Like one of the reasons I got, kicked out of my house is because there were things I didn't believe in what they was believing in the religious perspective, right? So that was a conscious choice that I did, and that was a lot of pressure. You know where I'm from, Mississippi, small town, Monticello. Everybody that's anybody is a Jesus fanatic. Nothing wrong with that, but I wasn't. You know how much pressure that was. So I could have at that time I could have submit or I could have went to the pressure, but I chose not to. But I will say, are there areas in my life that I submit to the pressure, the peer pressure? Absolutely. So what I'm telling you, there's no cookie cutter.
Yeah, just varies from
It varies
person to person.
and you have to deal those areas that I felt that I was peer pressured in. I had to deal with myself like, okay, why did I feel like I had to do this?
Yeah.
So, but I love this discussion. I love this discussion that you and I are having about choices and consequences.
Yes.
Just to kind of sum it up for me, and I'll allow you to sum it up, and we'll end it from there. Is choices are something that we make individually,
Yes.
but they can be affected by outside influences.
Of course.
We define the consequences we have in our life, whether they're good or bad, but the consequence is going to be a result of something of our choice.
To sum it up, for me, the same as you, the choices you make are affected by your environment, but at the end of the day, you have that ultimate choice, either to submit or stand tall. And in later conversations, we could go into victimization. Do you know what that is?
Absolutely.
We could go into that and how that can tie into feeling like you're not making a choice, but when really you're making a continuous choice to submit, but because that's still a choice. And how every choice has a consequence,
Okay.
cause and effect. If what goes up must come down.
Yeah, that's universal law.
Yeah.
Gravity, yes. So I love this conversation you and I just had, Giselle. So until next time, this is
Giselle.
Tyron, dad and daughter discussion, and we will see you on the next episode.